decided to stop speaking to this side of the family since the election. Words can't describe how hurt I am that you've decided to do this. You've known that I've supported Donald Trump since 2016. It has never come between us before. I have never judged you on the choices that you've made, the people that you supported, or who you voted for. I've always been open to listening to anything and everything you've believed in and you've wanted to share with me, whether I agree with it or not. You know my heart.
Have you ever considered that maybe your daughter does know your heart and that's exactly why she's decided to cut you out of her life? Actions have consequences, including who you vote for. When you vote for somebody like Donald Trump and the Republican Party, who have stripped the rights away from women and promised to strip the rights away from immigrants, strip the rights away from members of the LGBTQ community, people have a choice. They don't have to accept toxic and disgusting behaviors and people who promote theirs in their lives. I give props to this daughter for knowing that you believed in something that hurts her, hurts people she cares about, and she doesn't want that in her life. She did the right thing to protect herself and her own well-being. If you cared about your daughter and you truly listened to what she was saying and her concerns, maybe over the last 8 years, you would have learned a damn thing. Maybe you would have put the rights and the things that were important to your daughter above this foolish millionaire asshole, Donald Trump. And that's what it is. Throw me a follow. Props to that daughter.
White Americans youths or white American kids whose parents voted for DJT, they are cutting off their parents. They are cutting off their MAGA parents. And you know why? They are asking this question. If you knew exactly what Trump is, why did you vote for Trump? To make us as your children suffer.
How do you still defend this guy given everything that's going on? I mean, the corruption, like he's making so much money and everybody's getting screwed over. I look at people my age, like Gen Z, can't afford a house. I have friends who have gone to like Ivy League schools and they can't get jobs. And this is a guy who promised the American dream and now, you know, it's certainly not borne out.
Yeah, I just found out the average age of a first-time home buyer now. What would you guess?
It's 41 now. It used to be like what, 20s?
20s, yeah. I think when our parents were our age, it was 20s.
I read something, it was like 1 in 3 people at the age of 35 are still living with their parents.
Crazy.
And that's, in my view, not them being lazy, but rather like, you know, housing is just incredibly expensive and the economy kind of sucks.
Yeah, dude, it's rough. I mean, I honestly only see it getting worse.
If the Democrats, in my personal opinion, win the midterms, maybe we can do something there. Hopefully reinstate some federal funding and pass some policies or at least pass a budget that doesn't cut crucial programs, but at least for the years that Trump is going to be in office for the next 2, I don't think it's getting much better.
Yeah, inflation's 4.2 right now, they say. I think it's a little higher, honestly. They always undervalue that. Almost every economic metric is worse.
Not enough people talk about the mental health issues that come from having student loans and student debt. I feel like as someone that grew up with not a huge financial background in terms of I wasn't 17 graduating college knowing what a 401k was or a Roth IRA or a high yield savings account. And instead, I was told that, no, go to college and that's the right thing to do. And so instead you pull out these loans, not truly understanding what you're doing. And instead they're just handing this money to a 17 or 18-year-old. And I feel like unless your family or yourself really understands and educates yourself, you don't really know what you're doing. And now we're at a place to where, you know, you come out of college, you're 22 and you feel like you have your whole life ahead of you, but now you have a cloud of debt and you somewhat feel like even though you just accomplished so much, you're behind. And it affects your mental space so much, and I wish more people spoke about that part.
Why did you vote for DJT to make this economy be like this? Why did you vote for Donald J. Trump to make student loans expensive? Why did you vote for Donald J. Trump to make medication expensive? Why did you vote for DJT? We cannot afford even housing. We are out of schools. We need to pay loans, and you went ahead and voted for Trump, and now the economy is bad and we cannot survive. Now we're cutting you off.
Over the weekend, my dad had posted 2 separate posts about how children these days keep cutting off their parents because of pride and ego, and they cut off their parents because of political religious, moral views. And as much as that is true, that is not why I cut off my dad. And he's putting up these passive aggressive posts because he knows that I'm finally done, because it's now been 1.5 years since I have talked to him. I cut him off because I finally worked on myself to realize that he does nothing for my mental health. I cut him off because I got so sick of being emotionally drained all the time from the hurt that he has caused. As I grew up, I finally realized that my dad was the popular person of our family and everyone wanted to be in with him, and they would just throw their moral compass away in order to be accepted. And I realized that my family has a generational toxicity that I no longer wanted to partake in it, because I do not want to spread that damage in my hurt onto my 2 children, because the amount of hurt and pain that I feel from things that were said or things that were done to me that I never got an apology for. One of the videos he posted was about how children expect unconditional love from their parents, even though they themselves can't give unconditional love back to their parents. It has nothing to do with unconditional love. I still love my dad. I will never not have love for my dad. I would have never expected to not have a relationship with one of my parents as I became an adult. But as I grew up, I became someone with a voice, and I became someone who didn't want to just continuously sweep everything under the rug and talk about people and then hide it and pretend everything is okay. And my dad couldn't handle that. My dad can't handle that someone has a voice and will stand up to him and call him out on what is right and wrong. He wants that manipulative control over everybody, and if he doesn't have that control, you are the problem. I am now okay with being the problem. I am okay with being the scapegoat, because I will never get an apology no matter how much I try to share my feelings and express. And at that point, it was my responsibility to either be okay with the way he talked and treated me and my children, or the way that he was never around as a grandparent, or I had to walk away. And for my mental health, I had to walk away. And it has nothing to do with pride and ego. I walked away because he had too much pride and ego to apologize to his own daughter for the things that he has said or done to me. There is a reason why so many people in my generation have cut off their parents and walked away, and it is because we are trying to do better than the generation before us, and we are trying to protect our children and do better for them.
Well, this is a tough one, folks. I had to cut one of my uncles out of my life today. Very, very hard thing for me to do. I don't have a lot of family left that I'm close with. A lot of my family is dispersed and doing their own thing and whatnot. And this man was like a father to me. He's only 1 year apart from my dad, and so they were inseparable. They were always together. And this man taught me a lot of things and has always been there for me, and a really important part of my life. I sent him a video of the murder of the protester in Minneapolis today, and he said, yeah, I would have killed him too. And seeing that text just like broke my heart into like 1,000 pieces. This is not the man that I knew. This is not the same person. This is a person who's been radicalized by MAGA and made to think that things like this are okay. And not only okay, they're validated and they're good. I'm not going to have that in my life, folks. I'm not going to have somebody who's choosing darkness and hatred and evil in my life, because I firmly believe things like that are contagious, right? And I think that we have to shut them down, right? If he wants to walk that path of darkness, he's going to have to do it without me and without other members of my family who feel the same way. So it's very incredibly hard to do, because this man is older. He's in probably his late 70s. So there's a possibility that he could die before we reconcile, and that's hard. That's really fucking hard for me, because my dad is no longer here. And I don't have a lot of those male role models or people that I grew up with in my life anymore. Everybody's kind of moved on and doing their own thing. I guess I'm sharing my story because don't be afraid to do this, okay? Hopefully he takes some consideration. You know, the last thing I said to him was, "I've lost a lot of respect for you. Take care." And then I blocked him. And he tried to call me, but it went straight to voicemail, and he just said, "Oh boy." I hope that's not our last interaction. I hope we can find a way through this, but I'm not going to sit by and have that in my life. And I don't think you should either.
I told my mom and dad that because they voted for someone who wants me dead, that they no longer have the privilege of having their daughter and their granddaughters in their life. And I told them, never contact me again. I'm never calling you. I want nothing to do with you. And take me out of the will. I have a younger brother who is also a MAGA. I said, when you guys pass away, give him the entire house. I don't want to inherit your house. I don't want anything from you. I don't want to hear from you ever again.
So my MAGA aunt died a week and a half ago, and I haven't talked to her since like 2016, 2017, cut her out. And I've always wondered, because it wasn't just her, it was other family members too that I cut out. How would I feel when they pass? Like, would I regret the time that I missed with them? And I kind of thought that I would. And instead, what I regret the most is that she was not a good person. That she was my aunt and my godmother, and she was not a good person. And every time somebody posts on Facebook or wherever, and they're like, "Oh, she was amazing. She was so kind." Yeah, she probably was to white people. Or she really loved her family. She like made this incredible family. Yeah. Because as far as we know, nobody in her family is gay or lesbian or, well, there's no people of color in the family either. So, I mean, I'm not going to say those things. People have a right to grieve. But it's interesting to me and kind of sad that my biggest regret is that she doesn't have time now to become a better person. And the funny thing is that she didn't care. She didn't want to become a better person. She thought she was perfectly fine as she was, being completely racist and homophobic. So, I mean, that answers that question.
This is something that I'm really, really loving to see. But exactly, politics and families is two separate things. But this is a message to parents. When you go to the booth, when you vote, when you cast your votes, you are casting your vote because of the future of your kid. You are not voting for yourself because you are voting for the future. You are voting for a leader who's going to take care of the future. You are voting for a leader who's going to take care of your. And now you voted for Trump, and now Trump is doing jiggy for you, and now your kids are suffering. They are struggling to work 3 jobs a day. They are struggling to work more hours, and still they cannot put food on the table. And still they cannot fill up their pockets, and still there is no money in their pockets. This is the results of voting MAGA. Now, make America great again, American first, it was just a big politics slogan. Yes, nothing important is out there. The suffering is out there. The MAGA kids, the kids of MAGA parents, the kids of the rural white families, they are suffering because now they are being forced to live a life that is totally different than what they were taught. Because these kids, they grew up being told that you are superior. These kids grew up being told you are the best. These kids grew up being told, you know what? America is first, and you as a white person, you have your privileges. You put your head down, you go to school, you study, you work hard, and then everything will be brought in a platter, silver plate. But right now, they have done everything of that, and when they have finished schools, there's nothing. They can't do anything, know anything. What are they gonna do? Now they are cutting off their parents. And I don't know. This is the final report. I am KB.